Okay, and welcome back there. My name is Tim Davies, and today we're going to talk about how important it is for your boss to have confidence in you in the workplace, and that doesn't always happen. I'm going to give you two stories from my career in the military where it most definitely did not happen, and the effect it has on people when bosses don't have your back. And we're going to talk a little bit, just a little bit, because it's an ongoing case, about a guy called Chris Cabba, 24-year-old young black dude who was shot by an armed response vehicle officer, ARV officer, in London on the 5th of September last year. And that's because a year later, i.e. today, the officer is being charged with murder. Single shot to the head. Chris Cabba died about 2 hours later in hospital. It's windy out here, guys. I hope you don't mind. I've got this extra mic on here, this little fluffy mic, might help, but let me know what you think of the sound. But when it comes down to having faith in the people under your command, or your boss having faith in you, one of the guys I had for the work I do with what I call kingmanship or teamwork, I don't call it executive coaching, but I had a guy that came to me from the Royal Navy, and he had a harrowing story about being let down by his boss. It really was an awful story, and he had significant sort of post-traumatic stress disorder from that. So it does happen. That was even bigger than any kind of action he'd been in, any kind of firefights, anything like that. It was the fact he'd been let down by his boss. That was a massive trigger for him that he was still getting over, and I tried to help work him through that, and that's the kind of work I did. I don't normally talk much about the one-on-one work I do with people, but I do one-on-one work, and if you are interested in that, then tim@fastjetperformance.com, and hopefully we can slot you in for something. But so this police officer's been done for murder, and the other police officers in London now and elsewhere around the UK. Remember, it's a voluntary thing in the UK to carry firearms. You don't get any more money for it, anything like that. But the other firearms officers have said, you know what, we're not going to carry. We don't want to carry because the risk is too high for them. Being on a murder charge, crying out loud for doing your job. Not a manslaughter charge, nothing like that. It's a murder charge. And the case isn't even going to start being heard until this time next year. So that guy's got to sit. It's horrendous. My father was armed response, so I know a little bit about it. Not too much, but I know a little bit about it. But the two examples I've got, the reason I tell you this is because I haven't seen a single senior officer anywhere in the country standing up for their armed officers, or standing up for their officers full stop, really. It's like absence of leadership in British policing right now. Absolutely incredible. It's awful. I've never seen anything like it. When my father was in, and he left, I guess, well, early zeros, so maybe 08, 09, he talked quite fondly of his senior police, but it doesn't seem to be that way now. They seem to be career grifters, much like in the military, I think, at the moment, unfortunately. As you get to a certain stage, of course, in your career, you're getting paid some money, the pension's looking pretty good, and the last thing you want to do is to rock the boat. So they don't, of course. These aren't men, these aren't women, these are just political prawns, we all know it, political prawns, and that's exactly what they are. Now, the two stories I was going to tell you, I'll be quick. The first one was a mate of mine, we'll call him, I don't know, Ben or something, I suppose. He was on his last trip from the squadron. Now, I had what's called powers of auth. I could authorize people to go flying, and this was his last trip. And I got this call from the ops desk saying, Tim, could you go flying? And I was like, yeah, I'll go flying, what's up? Went down there. This guy said to me, it's my last trip in the Air Force. I said, oh, right on. I've flown with this guy for 9 years, constantly, 9 years straight. I knew this guy really, 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 really well. He said, I said, what are you gonna do? He goes, some low level around the country, last trip type stuff, and then I'll come home. All right, cool. I'll sign you or authorize you, and off we go flying. I'm gonna turn around here, guys, turn around here. I'll walk down this road now, walk down here. I said, all right, that's cool. What's the problem? He goes, well, the boss won't let me go on a last trip by myself. This guy had flown on the squadron for 4 years. He was leaving the Air Force. He was an instructor, a really accomplished guy. Really accomplished guy. Like I trust this guy with my life, you know what I mean? Well, I did on routine occasions. He could have flown my wife, could have flown anyone in my family. I said, what do you mean the boss won't let you go? So I phoned the boss up. Boss, what's up with this? Oh, Tim, I'm not letting any people on their last flight go by themselves. I said, yeah, but this is my boy Ben. I said, he's one of my men, one of my 12. He's not like a brand new instructor that's just come back from the front line or something. Even if he was, you know, we trust these guys. We send them off with young people all the time. The boss said, no, he's got to fly with someone else. Can you go flying with him? Now, I was an executive on the squadron. So I said, well, I'm busy. I'm a busy guy. I said, what the hell? So anyway, I had to fly with this dude. So I got changed, went to the ops desk, had the out brief, and as we're leaving, I said, you know what, mate? won't give the dude's real name. I said, I'll sign you out. I'll authorise you for the flight. I've got powers of auth. Yes, they're given to me by the boss. You get airborne, I'll go and speak to the boss and I'll tell him why he was wrong. So I crossed it all out, signed this guy out. He walked out to the jet, I started getting changed, and then he came back into the squadron and he said, actually, Tim, do you want to go flying anyway, mate? Because he was a tornado guy like me. He said, I'm going to be bored otherwise. I was like, all right, let's go flying together then. So we actually flew together on his last trip. It's a good dude. The boss, you know, I went back to see the boss after that. I said, what the hell are you doing here? I said, how do you not trust the people? You trust your men that fly with young students every day. I said, you know, one of the guys would have flown his wife, you know, we trust. He said, look, it's just something I don't want to do. I don't want people flying their last trip by themselves in case they do something stupid. I'm like, what, flying under a bridge or some shit like that? Anyway, that really hit me. I said some other words to the dude, I must admit. It was like, well, you don't trust us. You know, what the fuck already? You know, I was angry. I was angry. It's like, how do you know? I even said to him, look, I even authorized that guy to go flying. I authorized him myself to go flying, and he came back in and got me flying. So that kind of pissed me off. That's a boss not having faith in you. To go and fly your last trip, what are you going to do? You're just going to fly around, just take a jet. You're not going to do anything stupid. You're not going to risk your pension on some shit like that. Anyway, and the other one was that boss eventually. I said, look, boss, there's fatigue on the squadron. The guys need a break. Why don't we have a barbecue? He said, no, I'm trying to keep the statistics running, trying to get the... I said, yeah, but guys are burning out, boss. You know what I'm saying? Guys are burning out. And he said, no, we can't stop and have a barbecue. Anyway, a couple weeks later, he went on leave, left me in control of the squadron. First thing I did is I stopped flying. I think it was a Friday afternoon. Invited all the wives, said, bring your dogs, bring your animals, whatever. We had a massive barbecue. He got back. He was livid about that, absolutely livid. And really, he was livid because he wanted to do that himself. But he was just too much of a pussy boss. So it took me to stop the entire squadron. Guys loved it. Guys actually wrote letters to him. The wives wrote letters. Thanks, boss, for letting us have a squadron barbecue. It's amazing how great it was. So he had all these letters, which is brilliant. It's a lot of fun. And pretty much that's what happened. And so he never really got the chance to have a barbecue himself. Although about 3 weeks later, he actually did stop the entire squadron flying and he had a barbecue himself. I hope that works out, guys. Tim Davies, Fast Jet Performance.